Welcome to the Channel Surfers. I'm John McCabe, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, good friend, and caddy, Jeff Lennon. How you doing, Jeff?
That's awesome, man. Thanks, John. Great to be here, man. It's gonna be a fun conversation today, hopefully.
I agree. And I reference caddy because today's topic, par for the partner course, how golf and channel success align with each other. And we're gonna utilize our golf terminology to match up and kind of compare to our channel analogies and the way we manage channel partners, like we manage golf courses and your golf game. Um, Jeff and I, it's no secret, we're both big golfers, and I think this topic and this show should be right up our alley and pretty interesting. So, why don't you start us off, Jeff? Tell me what you're thinking about from a golf analogy standpoint.
Yeah, well, so I thought it was interesting, right? We were kind of kicking around like what would be a good topic, and I just think seasonally, right? We're at that time of year, right? The Masters just happened, and we were talking about the different challenges that take place, that are happening every day in the channel, and we've had the opportunity to talk to a couple of different people over the last 5-6 weeks, and it's interesting because they all have aspects that help you kind of align, and hey, here's how you got to deal with some of the challenges that take place in the channel.
Right.
Whether it's a change in the business, the type of partners that you want to use in those things. And what I thought was interesting, right, is taking really kind of and for what it's worth, a lighthearted approach, so to speak, right, as we kind of look at how golf and the approach to golf kind of mirrors a lot of the channel principles and the channel business processes, and then basically aligning that to our to a strategy. So for example, right, don't they always tell people you got to have more than one club in your bag, right? Because I actually have, my brother plays a seven iron tournament where they go out and all they have is their 7 iron
Oh my
and their
God.
putter. And yeah, it's hard because all of a sudden now you get into those par fours or even a par five, and I mean you're swinging for your life, but at the same
Mm.
time you got to you just want to keep it in play is what he tells me. It's like you just got to keep it in play, and you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
But looking at different aspects of it, I mean, as we kind of kicked it around, what I thought was interesting is not worried about the big swing, right? Like in channel, everybody thinks about getting the big deals and getting that big push, and a lot of times it's really about being able to just keep your game in line, keep it consistent. That what's the old saying, right? You drive for, what is it? You drive for show and you putt for dough, right?
Right.
And the point there is, the putting, which is the shortest part of the game, theoretically, right? And it's if you can nail your putting, you're typically going to win a lot more, because that's where most people lose a lot of their strokes. They end up three putting, 2-3 putting when they should have just one putted or something. But that's kind of like the premise, and I'll just digress. I love golf, and I've had the opportunity to golf with you. Hands down, far much better golfer than I am handicap wise and all that, but still
Not
still have
really.
a love of the game.
Yeah, and look, I love this topic, and like just kind of addressing the why do you have more than one club in your bag? Like, I have 5 wedges and 4 woods, and all the rest are irons, and a putter. Why do you have more than one partner? Because you can't scale, a partnership with just one partner. You need multiple partners to have different markets to reach and different specialties and different sales personas. Just look at the clubs. Like my wedges all do a specific job, different yards into the green. I have a driver. I have a 3 wood. I need a driver from the tee. I need a 3 wood from a par 5. So having multiple clubs is important, and having multiple partners is important, because you want to be able to uncover the partners that work best with you to help grow your business and build or actually expand upon your channel strategy and the playbooks that you put together. Would you disagree?
No, I totally agree. I totally agree with that. And what's interesting is that is kind of for me, the analogy fits, right? So having different types of partners. I know we talked about this on the podcast that we'll be posting soon, but are you looking to have referral partners? You're looking to have a VAR, you're looking to have MSPs, tech alliances. Are you going to have to go 2-tier and go through distribution? To your point, they're different clubs. They're different things for different ways that you want to enter the market.
Yep.
Some drive
Yep.
top of funnel, some drive the resell piece, some drive really, helping you to better align to get bigger deals, so to speak. Right. So to me, it does kind of very much align with what kind of clubs you have in your bag. Funny story. I was out, this is years ago, golfing with somebody. My brother is, he's a big PGA fanatic, with the rules, that is. Maybe not golf. I mean, he's a decent golfer, but very much to the rules. Where he would count the clubs in my bag, and I'd be like, oh my god, this is happening. But it's important because you can't. You don't want to have too many, because then you're just carrying around dead weight, right? And just like in the channel, if you've got partners or a partner mechanism, the type of partner that really isn't helping your business because it doesn't really align, you got to know when to kind of move away from that and not spin the cycles on it. That's kind of my feeling, right? So
Yeah.
that's just
No.
one of the many analogies, so to speak.
So let me test your golf and partner knowledge here.
Mhm.
Let's I'll call out a club. You tell me what kind of partner that club associates with. Let's start with an easy one. The driver. Big
So the
six.
drive, yeah, the driver is going to, the driver is going to be you're trying to do something long, right? You're trying to get a long drive out of it. So I see the driver kind of partners, which is getting something long. It's not a close game. That's going to be kind of I'll say your SHI, your CDWs, your WWTs. It takes a lot to get them, and that's kind of your big wow, so to speak.
Yeah,
That's just kind of my thought. I don't know what yours
I
is.
agree. I totally agree. Okay. What about a 7-iron?
Ooh, 7-iron's good because I think you fall into that. I'm going to say regional partner. And I had a term I came up with when I was at FireEye, because you had your regional partners and then you had a super regional. And for what it's worth, to me, a seven, I'm gonna say 7-8 iron kind of fall into that kind of super regional, because they're a regional partner, but they may have some expanded growth. So because I can play around with my 7-iron and do so. I love, by the way, I love using my 7-iron from the fringe. Like if I'm in a light rough, I'll go up close, bring my feet together, and then I saw somebody do this, and I played around with it, and I'm able to get just like a nice little bump and run using my 7 because of the club face.
Yep.
But I would say, to me, that's kind of ideally that 7-8 iron is that regional, super regional partner.
Yeah. All right. What about a hybrid? And a lot of people don't
Oh,
use hybrids. I did. I'm moved to woods now, but
yeah, that's a good question. Hybrids. I only, it's funny for I'll digress again. My age, I actually only have one. I'm going to get another one. I kind of want to move to a 3 hybrid. I have actually, no, I'm sorry, a 4-iron hybrid. I have a 3 right now that I've been using. And, wow, that's a good question. I think that, man, that's a great question,
I
John.
would say that's
You
your
kind of stumped me, because I'm thinking it's not. So the hybrid is that's probably going to be more the super regional. That's going to be a partner,
well.
and I'll just throw names out like a Nexus or a Guide Point, which they're in multiple regions. So it gives me the ability to get the control, get the distance. But it's not my driver, and I'm not using a wedge. So it's something that's getting me more of an intermediate distance.
Yeah, no, I would even say like that partner that not only resells but offers services. They're a hybrid. They're multi-functional for the vendor who's trying to sell a product and utilize services to help their customers get the best bang for their buck when the software goes in. Know how to stand it up and use it, right? So I would
Yeah.
pick that. I think super regional is a good one. Um, or what about the putter? I have a thought on that, but I want to hear what you say.
So you've thought this through. Good question. Um, for me, actually, and it's funny. This is kind of where I start to make this transition, because it's not so much the putter as the type of partner. it's that point of the process where I'm looking to drive, consistent execution, with the partners that I'm going to market with, right? So this is kind of where I get into that hybrid, not to use that term again, but in the hybrid part of the conversation where it's like I'm trying to manage the course and then the green as the partner itself, and what do I need to do from that process perspective? And for me, the putter is, I'm looking to make sure that we've got eyes, we've got, and basically go through almost like your force management or your medic, where it's like, do I have an economic buyer? Do we have a technical win? Have we confirmed, budget? Have we aligned the important things to ensure that we're getting this deal closed with the partner and not just, kind of crossing our fingers? That's kind of my thought.
Okay. Yeah. Like, look, I know putter is probably one of the most important clubs in your bag next to the driver. And I would say, I'm thinking like a distribution partner could be the putter, because when you need the deal to go, from a logistics standpoint or a reach, they're really an important partner for you, right? And I think that, to me, the putter is very important. I think a distribution partner is important too, because they tie you to the reseller. They also do the logistics. They do the billing. They could do everything that you need them to do if you're working, directly with a distribution partner. So that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, yeah, no, I get that. And here's the thing, really, there's, right, there's no wrong answer. Um, but it is interesting, and like I said, when we were talking about this, for me, the metaphor, I kind of bring it up a level because it's like, I think about other aspects of golf, right? Like, you've heard the term, play the long game, right?
Right.
And, how many times you go out, if anybody on here is golfed, you get it. You go out and maybe your first two holes, you did okay. Your third hole, I mean, it's a mess. And you have to learn in golf, once you get to the fourth tee, that it's behind you. You got to move on, right? So you can't let one hole ruin your entire round, ruin the day, ruin the round. Just like in partnerships, right? One quarter doesn't make a partner, right? It's the long term. It's about building that resiliency, building that strategy, and building, the execution to drive that partner strategy. It came up in our conversation with Jared, right? Like, the strategy is all about a choice. So if
Yeah.
you got to make the choice, right, on how you're focusing and where you're focusing. But again, I like I said, it's funny how after we were kicking that idea around, I get the club thing, but like I said, I'm kind of looking at it like this larger
Yeah.
macro going, wow, it really plays into the whole philosophy of golf for me.
It does, because you need multiple clubs to get around the course. So let's switch gears here. Let's talk about
Sure.
the difference between big swings and steady
Ooh.
putting. Like, give me your analogy on that in terms of partnerships.
So there's really kind of twofold, right? So for me, one is, whether, depending on the club you're using, and I'm guilty of this, it's all about your tempo, right? Tempo and timing. And sometimes when you try to swing too hard, right, you overpower, you end up,
Yeah.
slicing the ball, right?
Yeah.
Because your timing is off with your hands. And how many times have you heard people say, as soon as I got up there and I stopped thinking about my swing and I just took my time and swung through the ball, like I had a really nice pure shot. So for me, the one is, the tempo and timing of your swing, which, just like in channel, right? It's not trying to rush things too quickly, right? Don't try to scale your structure or your leads too quickly, because A, you're going to make mistakes. B, you might miss things, which in the end are going to blow up, but it'll be down the road. But also, I think it affects, the ability to build trust within the process with the partner.
Yeah,
So
no, I agree. I think that's a great analogy. I would say big swings are, sometimes we take big swings, we go after partners that might be way too big for us as a vendor to deal with, right? But
yeah,
steady putting is the right partner fit. That's why it's important to do a matchup of your ICP to your IAPP, right? You make sure you have the right partner that matches your customer profile. And that's where I see the analogy in that statement. I think big swings are great if you can, if they
good
work.
point.
But a big swing, you nailed it. Like, if you take too big of a swing and your hands are off or your shoulders not dropped, and you end up slicing, right? I lose a lot of balls on the course with slices, right? So I think it's important that you focus, and in golf, the most important part of the game is the short game, chipping and putting. If you focus on that, your game improves. You don't necessarily have to like utilize all your big clubs to score well in golf. You need chipping and putting. And that's why
Yeah.
I think like if you're steady with these partners that match your profile, that's the chipping and putting. That's the little things that you need to do to score, meaning close business and win partners that are going to produce revenue for you.
I love that. I love that. It's like, again, just thinking of you saying that totally makes sense, right? And it is like, getting the big logos, right? Getting that flashy launch. I mean, all that stuff is great, but it's to your point, the putting, right? It's about the consistency, right? It's about the consistency of your partner program. The putting needs to be consistent. I was watching the part of the tournament yesterday, and that's how Thomas won. He won with his putting. At the end
Right.
of the day, he was. I mean, it's crazy, but he was super on with it. But again, just like in partner management, right? It's about taking that enablement, being consistent and following through, and then you start to get this process of, now you've got this process going, and now you're closing deals, and you're doing it on a repeatable, consistent basis.
And here's another analogy. Like with chipping and putting, it's all about muscle memory. Like, how do you chip? Where are your wrists? Where are you standing? Are you leaning forward? Are you taking grass with you? Or are you like just brushing the ball? Putting is the same thing. The tempo of the stroke. If you hit it too hard, it goes past the hole. If you hit it too soft, it doesn't go to the hole. You got to find that perfect, tempo. And with partners, I think that's the same thing. Once you start to build the muscle memory with them and they understand you, you understand them, the deals start to flow more. And I'll give a great example. I've mentioned third party trust in the past, how we built a very successful channel program there. We learned it was more important to talk with the partner reps than prospect customers, because we were just getting in tune with them. We were getting in the groove. We were learning how they operate. They were learning about us. We just got to the point where we were mind share every day. They knew who we were. We were keeping that partner mind share. And that's the consistency you need with partnerships. You got to make sure you're doing the things that they remember. It's muscle memory for them, right? Brain muscle memory. So I really think
Absolutely.
putting and chipping very much relate to how successful you are. If you don't practice chipping or bunker play or putting, your game's going to suffer. You're going to score a lot higher because you're missing opportunities to make that chip that snugs the ball up close, and you're missing the ability to learn how a partner operates and missing out on opportunity. You know.
No, I love that. So this is why I said to you, I kind of want to go into this a little raw, because now listening to you, you kind of spurred another thought, which is, and I had somebody tell me this before. It's all about your follow through, right? So when you're swinging, you have a clean finish. I mean, how many times have you seen people try to get out of a sand trap, and they hit the sand and they stop, and
And
then
they
they
hit the
wonder
wall
why
of the bunker, and then they hit
they
with the
right.
ball.
But to your point, it's all about the follow through, right? Having a clean swing, a clean finish, and coming through. It's the phrase I heard was, if you can get through the ball and have a clean finish, you're going to have better accuracy. And that, to your point, that just comes back to me, like having that follow through and making sure that you're completing your swing. It's all about closing the deal, right? Which is great. But if you don't follow through with it, after with those deals, or even before the deals, with the support, the marketing, driving education, helping with, getting the new driving, loyalty with that partner, right? It's again, somebody's going to listen to this and go, these guys are crazy. Like, they're talking golf and then they try to throw channel in there. But
Sports always relate to business, no matter what. Basketball, football, baseball, whatever. It relates to business because business is a sport. It's a competition,
absolutely, man,
right?
absolutely. But no,
So,
it is funny, right? So I totally agree with you. I think that was a great. You just made me think of that as you were saying that. I'm trying to
mm,
like tie it back. I mean, I think the other thing that we had briefly talked about was, and this is what's hard, right? You go, you see people, and what people don't realize, you watch some of these professional golfers, right? They get to do, like, let's just say they go to a course, they get at least 2 practice rounds, and then they get to play that course for 4 days. Now they get to play 2 days to see if they make the cut. So on average, at the minimum, they should have at least played that course 4 times, which means, and everybody, they got their little book. They put out their little book. They got stuff documented. They're like, hey, this
Yep.
green is this way. This is what I saw. The pins in the back. Like, so they have all this information that helps them. So I think, just like you need to know a course to be really good, you also have to understand, the partner that you're working with, because of, their approach, their unique business profile, and understand what are their goals, what are their plans, what are their pain points, how are they looking to navigate and share deals.
Yep.
And that all comes down to communication.
Yeah. And, that leads into like the next point that we want to talk about. And that is, understanding how to manage a partner like you manage a golf course. And we talked about this before the show started. When I'm playing golf, I know on my home course, I know it like the back of my hand. I know if on the, the fifth hole, if I'm too far right, I am down the hill in the woods and I'm done. If I'm left, I'm far away from the green on a elevated green approach shot, but I'm safe, And I think what you relate to the partners, like if you know a partner is that left side safe shot that you can go to and talk with and say, we need to get this deal done. We know you have, a relationship there. We're coming to you. Help us get in there and close this deal and work with us, versus the partner that's the, the right miss down the hill into the woods. They're not going to give you the time of day because they might want more business thrown their way first, or they might want compensation for events to do stuff like that. And they really aren't going to give you the time of day. They're the wrong partner. Just like that's the wrong shot and the wrong position to be in, they're the wrong partner. Whereas the left safe shot, you're going to win with them, and you're going to make your approach shot and be in position for par or winning a deal. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I was coughing again. But no, you're spot on. But to your point, right? I think what's interesting is your course like the back of your hand, right? Which is great. So like if you know if you have a partner that you've worked with previously and their go-to-market and how to, like, you'll be able to get through a lot of those initial things a lot faster. Not that you want to go through it too fast, but you'll be able to get through that, to your point. But it's really those courses where you've never played, right? And even if you get a GPS and they have the GPS in the card or something, like you're going to get some of that data. But it's just, to me, it's just like trying to get a new partner, right?
Exactly.
You got some basic information. It's all preliminary stuff. It's all topical, right? So it's one dimensional. I'm getting to look at a at a GPS that tells me, oh, from here to the, to the green is, 460 yards, but to this point, it's like, that's all great.
How about a blind tee shot? How about a blind tee shot where you don't see the hole and you're like, where the hell am I going? I'll give you a really good example of that analogy that you just talked about.
Yeah.
I went to play Lookout Mountain last year in Georgia. It's a very famous Seth Rayner course, beautiful course.
Heard of it.
I have an app that shows me it's like a yardage book online, right? And I looked at the yardage book before I played, and every hole looked flat and no danger anywhere. And I'm like, this is going to be great. Well, I got there, and the course is built into a mountain, first of all. Some holes, if you miss the fairway, you're off the mountain. You're never going to recover your ball. And every hole was like undulating fairways and tough greens that were rock hard. And like, it was nothing like that yardage book online. I think if I bought a yardage book in the pro shop, it probably would give me more detail, more topographical detail. But look, what you're saying there is, if you don't know the course, you don't know the partner, you're going into uncharted territory, and you're going to have to make your best guess what shot to take, what approach to take with the partner. And it's always a crapshoot at that point. When you know the course, like I know my home course, you make better decisions, you know how to maneuver. That's a partner you will rely on and you work with closely.
Yeah. I 1,000% agree. Now, and what's great is if you're able to play again, if you're able to play a course, right? That you have, or if you haven't played the course before, but you have somebody in your foursome that has, they're going to constantly kind of like drop little hints. And I'm
Yeah.
sure you do that. You have people that you play with, and you find yourself telling people stuff, and they're like, "Oh, okay, thanks." And then they get up there and they hit it. You're like, "I kind of hit it where I said not to hit it." And then they get up there
Oh
and they're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
"Oh man, I lost my ball." And you're like, I told you stay away from the
I
right."
told you, stay left. The right side's danger. Told you.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I told you, stay left.
Yeah. So, but no, it's like not to go too far down the rabbit hole, right? It's so just the whole premise and the idea of this is, number one, if you can do a little homework, right, on a course that you're going to play, or a little homework on the partner you're going to work with, in the market you're going to work in, it's definitely worth it. If you've had the opportunity to work with them before, that's great. You're gonna be able to get to like step 3 a little bit faster. And I always tell everybody, you don't really want to skip steps, but if you have the knowledge and the experience with somebody, you can move a little bit quicker. But to your point, right, there's still the other elements that happen in a golf course. And just like in business, the climate changes, the weather changes, where it's like the wind's blowing or it starts raining or like whatever. It changes the way that you play that course. Just like when in channel, right, as the
Mhm.
different economic headwinds happen or different challenges hit businesses, you have to start to modify. You have to be able to kind of modify and pivot your approach with that partner.
Yep.
Um, because they're going to deal with those headwinds, and you got to figure out how do you help do that with them.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. We're kind of running up of time here, and we want to. There's one more one point we want to talk about, and it's probably one of my favorite bullet points you came up with. How long-term mindset wins in golf and the channel. I think it ties together everything we were talking about. The right number of clubs, the right courses to play, knowing the course, knowing your strategy. So how does that long-term mindset win in golf and in channel?
Well, to me, to win in golf, like I said, there's 18 holes, and if you have a bad hole, you move on, right? You can't carry it to the next hole because then it just starts to undermine your game. So just like if you have a bad situation in sales or in the channel, there's an old saying I learned: some will, some won't. So what? You move on. It's okay. And some people say it's never okay. Well, it kind of is. Like there's nothing you can do about what has happened. All you can do is be prepared for the next step. So for me, that long term mindset is you've got 18 holes. If you bogey, double bogey a hole, I thought, and as an example, you look at Rory and what he did at the Masters, right? And what do you have? 3 double bogeys, which has never
Yeah.
happened before.
Yeah.
Never
Yeah.
happened before for somebody that won the Master. But
Right.
it just shows you that, yeah, you're gonna have some really bad holes. You're gonna have some really bad quarters. Um, but it doesn't define the longer aspect of the game. And the fact that if you say, okay, well, that was a bit, now I'm just going to go back. And I think on the final day, was that on the 10th hole or something like that? Or I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, he was cruising into the ninth. He came through the ninth hole, really playing well, and then he kind of doubled. Tenth is Rory's Achilles. That's where he blew up years ago, like 2011 or 2010, whenever he was like in the lead
It
on
was 20. Yeah,
Sunday.
I think that was
Yeah, that was the
2011.
hole that killed him. So yeah, I mean, look, that's a great point because there are pitfalls and bumps in the road that we deal with partners. You got to have a mind like a goldfish and forget about it to find where your next shot's going to be or where your next opportunity lies and like how you do it, right? And again, having those trusted partners, all the clubs that you really feel comfortable working, playing with when you're golfing, building a playbook or strategy with them, knowing how to manage that course, knowing where your shots should be going, being able to pick the right partner for the right opportunity. That's the left safe shot versus the right miss shot. If a partner has paper with a particular client that you are trying to sell a deal to, that's who you go with. They cut down your close time versus a partner who doesn't have paper but wants to get in there, and you're like, I'll give him a chance. That's going to make that right miss hurt because you probably aren't going to have a fast deal if you have to negotiate 2 contracts, right? That's how I kind of, think that those two relate. But everything we're talking about here is very relatable to sports of any kind, right? I think business is competitive. It's got players. You've got, positions to fill. You've got, jobs to do, things that you need to be successful, right? And I think,
Absolutely.
and the key takeaway is, just like golf, building a winning channel strategy is about consistency, finesse, and knowing when to go big or lay up, even though Arnold Palmer said never lay up or no layups ever. But no, you do need to make those decisions. And look, we're all human. Layups are part of business. Sometimes you gotta take a chance and be a little risk, take the risk or be conservative, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, I'll say this for my closing thing, right? That was a great finish, but so look at it this way, and if you're a golfer, you get this. So whether you're a scratch golfer or you're just scratching the surface on how to develop and execute on your partner strategy,
mhm.
right? You just got to start, and there needs to be, and I think you nailed it, right? I look for resiliency and repeatability. That's what I look for when working with a partner.
I agree. That's golf too. You've got to be consistent. You got to be resilient, and it doesn't help. You can't just look. It's like anything. You got to practice everything you do, not just golf, but practice being a good channel partner and being able to do the things you need to be successful. Consistent.
Absolutely.
I totally agree with that. Well, listen, this was a really good topic. I had fun with it, and I hope our audience did. We don't. This show is not scripted or serious. We like to, help you guys, but we also like to have fun and enjoy what we're doing. And I think this was probably one of my favorite shows to date. But Kenny and I'm obsessed with golf. So, but listen, Jeff, I really appreciate you doing this, and
Yeah,
thanks again
thanks,
for
John.
co-hosting. You guys can find us on pretty much every podcasting service that's out there right now. And we also have our own website, www.channelsurfers.com. And you can find us on LinkedIn, where we post our most current episodes on the day that they are released, usually on a Tuesday morning. So if you have any questions for us, feel free to reach out to us through our website or LinkedIn. And until the next time, thanks for listening, and we appreciate the audience.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great afternoon. Have a good day.
Cheers.